When I think back to my youth, there's one particular day that is engraved in my memory, and I'll take you back to that day. It was the 23rd of July 2008. I was sat at home by myself at the kitchen table, and the kitchen table all of a sudden started to vibrate, started to shake. And at the same time, I heard this huge crash. I initially thought it was people coming into the house to beat me up. I ran towards the front door, and before I knew it, police were swarming all around me, shouting, "Get down, get down, get down." As I get down on the floor, I look behind me. Police were swarming in through the back door with the police dogs, all shouting, get down, so aggressively. I was petrified. I got down on the floor and I was handcuffed. At the same time, there was a sense of relief. I'm glad it was over, and I knew life was going to change from that day onwards. Excuse me. I was born in London. I grew up in a little town called Spalding. My father left when I was 4 years old. My mother raised me and my brother single-handedly. My mother inspires me still today. She did an amazing job and she's like a modern-day hero. She raised 2 kids by herself. She worked full-time and she studied 2 degrees, all at the same time. At about the age of 12 years old, I started roaming the streets. I started hanging out at the skate park. I was hanging out late at night, later than what I probably should have been. I started hanging out with older guys. I wanted to impress the older guys. I did what they did. I was first offered drugs at 12 years old, and because I wanted to be like these older guys that I thought were cool, I did that. I remember that feeling was just, I was petrified, and it's a feeling that no 12-year-old should have. I wanted to be like them, so I did the things they did. Drinking, partying, drugs, even burgling houses at 12 years old. I'm not proud of these events, but this is just part of my life story. One particular night, we'd sussed out a house that we were going to burgle. I was sent in first. They pushed me to go in first. I crept over the back wall. I went to the back door. I could see the lights were on through the back door window. I opened the back door slowly. I took a step in. I looked at the room on the left and there was the kitchen. The lights were on. Nobody was in there. I proceeded down the hallway to the next room, which was the lounge room. Nobody was in there. I looked behind me. I gave the signal for the boys to come ahead. They followed in. The next room was the main bedroom. There was an old man asleep on his bed. We'd still decided that we were still going to go ahead and burgle his house. I went towards the front of the house. The boys stayed in the bedroom. One of them decided it would be a good idea to kick the bed. The old man woke up. I looked behind me. The boys were running out. Shortly after, the old man walked down the hallway, blocking my exit. I was trapped in his house. I just ran. I ran past him. I ran down the hallway. I ran out the back door, and I continued running and sprinting. Those boys, those older guys that sent me in that house first, they didn't care about me. They didn't care that they left me in that house. I was a means to an end for them. They used me as a guinea pig. And I was happy to be that person because I wanted to be like these guys. They had taken me under their wing. At 16 years old, I landed the job of a lifetime. Paid cash, tax-free, work your own hours. I became a drug dealer. My first thought of becoming a drug dealer was to get in the game, make some money quickly, get out, help my family, help myself, provide for my mother. I quickly became spiraled out of control. There's a lot of negativity that comes with selling drugs. Just a few of those things that I experienced. I was fighting. I was having knives pulled out on me. I was having dirty needles put to my neck. I was losing friends. And my mother's house was burgled. They were in that house looking for my drugs. They couldn't find any, but they did find a few things. My mother's handbag, her credit cards, PIN codes to her credit cards, car keys, and a car at the front of the house. They took it all, stole thousands of pounds. I woke up the next morning. I could hear Mum thrashing around the house. She was on the phone to the police. She was saying to the police what had happened. I knew what had happened. I just laid in bed, hungover, coming down off drugs, not really caring. That's the sort of level I'd come to. How pathetic is that? A couple of days after the house was burgled, I remember my brother grabbed me and he shook me and he looked me in the eyes and he said, "Can't you see what you're doing? Can't you see what you're doing?" And he was absolutely right. I couldn't see what I was doing. I couldn't see what I'd done to myself and my family. It wasn't until I was in that cell, staring at the four walls, and I realised my mum that day was coming home from work to no front door and one son. That's when I realised the heartache I'd caused, the pain I was causing to the ones I cared the most. That's when I realised I needed to change. And I did, from that day onwards. I left the cell and I haven't touched drugs since that day. Somebody offered me a dance studio that I could train at 5 nights a week whilst I wait for my court appearance. This gave me time. This gave me a creative outlet. It was challenging me mentally and physically, and I could see myself actually improving at something, and it was giving belief within myself. And as a blessing in disguise, although how strange this sounds, I found out the people that burgled my house were actually my friends. This gave me a perfect opportunity to walk away from them and for drugs, and I concentrated on breakdancing. And that's what I did. I waited for my court date. The barrister had told me 2 years in jail. My convictions that I pleaded guilty to were possession with intent to supply of Class A drugs, twice. Possession with intention to supply, Class C, twice. Drunken disorderly for assault on a police officer. My court day finally came. I woke up 6:30 in the morning. It was freezing, it was snowing. I walked downstairs into the kitchen, and my mum's lying on the kitchen floor and she's crying. She hasn't slept, she's been there all night. I picked her up, I gave her a hug, and she whispered in my ear, "I wish I could be doing this, not you." That is a feeling that you're never going to forget. My dad picked us up, we went to court. The barrister greeted us. She said, "Tom, I'm sorry, but you've got to hug your mum now, because once you're sentenced, You can't look behind and wave goodbye. You have to go straight down where they take you to jail. I was crying, to say the least. I knew I had changed, but I still had to face the wrath of the judge. I stood before the judge and I looked at him in the eye, and he was looking at me in the eye. He could see I was in despair. I had tissues down here that I was wiping my eyes with that were just ripped to shreds. I was petrified. He looked at me and he said, I'm going to give you a chance. I see something in you. He said, I'm going to give you 300 hours community service, a big fine, and a 2-year jail suspended sentence. Absolutely nobody saw that coming. I walked out that courtroom. I was so grateful for a second chance, and I was not going to mess that up. From that day, I continued breaking at night. I worked my 300 hours community service like that. The day I finished my community service, I said, see you later, Mum, I've got to go. I booked a one-way ticket to Australia. I was 18 years old. I had no money, I had no job, I had no direction. I didn't know what I was getting in for, but I knew I had to leave all this behind, reflect and move on and go forward. And I did that by myself in Australia. On my travels, I met a beautiful lady. 5 years later, I'm a married man. I have a full-time job as an electrician. I teach breakdancing. And I'm a father to a beautiful 6-month-old baby girl. Somewhere in there I decided that I was going to be the positive role model that I needed when I was young. That's when I started teaching breakdancing. I started teaching to not only share my passion of breaking, but to share the positivity that it had brought into my life, and I wouldn't be standing here today if it wasn't for breakdancing. I've seen my students grow in physical skill, but also in confidence and self-belief. They believe in themselves. They try something. They can't do it. They keep trying. They can't do it. They keep trying. They get it. And they get it. And they get it. And the smile on their faces when they get it is awesome. I'm not saying that every youth that gets into trouble should be let off and get away with it. But what I am saying, and I strongly believe in, we should be getting alongside the young generation. We should be showing them what they are capable of. No dream is too big, no circumstance too bad. They can achieve what they want to achieve. And today, I have the privilege to share with you some of my students. Come in, guys. Give them a round of applause, please. This is my beautiful baby girl, isn't she? Bambi Rose. I'm privileged to teach these guys, to know these guys. I'm grateful for their parents trusting in me. I'm grateful for everything I have in life now, particularly my wife. These guys are going to perform for you. Thank you. If we can get this cleared up, that'll be awesome. I'm so proud of these guys. They are awesome. Look at this. Are you ready? Are you ready? Into position, boys. Let's go.
We got a young brother that stands for something. We got a young brother that believes.
That's it.
In all of us.
Thank you.
Kendrick Lamar. He's not a rapper. He's a writer. He's an author. And if you read between the lines, we'll learn how to love one another. But you can't do that. I said you can't do that without loving yourself.
This is a world. This is a world premiere.
I done been through a whole lot. Trial, tribulation, but I know God. Satan wanna put me in a bow tie. Pray that the holy water don't go dry, yeah. As I look around me, so many motherfuckers wanna down me. But they don't be gonna never drown me. In front of a dirty double mirror, they found me. And I love myself. The world is a ghetto, big guns and big guns. I love myself. But they can do what they want whenever they want. I don't mind. I love myself. You said I gotta get up. More than suicide. I love myself. One day at a time. Sun gon' shine. Everybody looking at you crazy. What you gonna do? Lift up your head and keep moving. Or let the paranoia haunt you. Peace to fashion, police, I wear my heart on my sleeve, let the runway start. You know the miserable do love company. What do you want from me and my scars? Everybody lack confidence. Everybody lack confidence. How many times my potential was anonymous? How many times the city making me promises? So I promise this. I love myself. The world is a ghetto, big guns and big guns. I love myself. But they can do what they want whenever they want. I don't mind. I love myself. You said I gotta get up. Life is more than suicide. I love myself. One day at a time. Sun gon' shine. They wanna say it's a war outside and a bomb in the street and a gun in the hood and a mob of police and a rock on the corner and a line full of fiend and a bottle full of lean and a motto on a scheme. Yeah. These days of frustration keep y'all on tuck in rotation. I duck these cold faces, post up, feed 5-4 from bases. Dreams are reality's piece. Blow steam in the face of the beast. The sky can fall down, the wind can cry now. The strong in me, I still smile. I love myself. The world is a ghetto, big guns and big guns. I love myself. But they can do what they want whenever they want. I don't mind. I love myself. You said I gotta get up. Life is more than suicide. I love myself. One day at a time. Sun gon' shine. Walk my bare feet. Walk my bare feet. Down, down, valley deep. Down, down, valley deep. I love myself. 5-4 from me. 5-4. I love myself. Heart on, my heart on. I love myself.
The world is a ghetto, big guns and big guns. I love myself. But they can do what they want whenever they want. I don't mind. I love myself. You said I gotta get up. Life is more than suicide. I love myself. One day at a time. Sun gon' shine.
I went to war last night. With a automatic weapon, don't nobody call a medic. I'ma do it till I get it right. I went to war last night.
Guys, thank you so much. Awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.